I simply passed a simple test and shocked everyone present because I displayed power that didn't match my appearance. Is this really the kind of strength a small child should possess? In my previous life, I was a shadow assassin belonging to the Robert family, specifically responsible for helping the family clear obstacles in their path, making the Robert family one of the Empire's major families. But what I received in return was the family's guillotine. It turned out the family head had discovered that I had broken free from the mind control that stripped people of their freedom. Mind control was Robert's primary method of controlling assassins. But during one mission, I accidentally obtained the Ring of Fire, finally breaking free from those vicious shackles. But how did he know I had broken free? This made him sigh in amazement. You are the first person to break free from indoctrination. Just then, he lightly snapped his fingers. A surge of energy drilled into my body. The next second, pain spread throughout my entire body, as if something was gnawing at my heart. Damn it. It turned out the Robert family didn't just use mind indoctrination to control assassins. They also had the Rage Worm. It could not only kill those afflicted by the curse, but could even control their emotions and thoughts. I never expected him to be so vicious, while I had worked diligently for them, pushing the Robert family to its peak. This was the result I received in return. This made me extremely unwilling to accept it. I couldn't let things end like this. Since there was no way back, at least I had to leave something on him, so I used all my strength to attack him. Duras had no intention of dodging, because he thought I was nothing more than a spent arrow. In the blink of an eye, my head was separated from my body. My head fell heavily to the ground. He never expected that I could actually wound him. This was the first time he'd been bitten by a hunting dog he'd raised. Now that he was dead, there was no need to worry about anything anymore. Duras was considered one of the strongest warriors on the northwestern continent. Obviously, it was impossible for me to defeat him. Should I just accept my fate like this? I deeply regretted living such a life for no reason. My entire life being toyed with by devils. I regretted not being able to complete the opportunities I had gained, whether it's God or the devil. If you hear my prayer, please give me one chance. I will definitely kill Duras with my own hands. At that moment, the necklace in my hand emitted a faint glow. When I opened my eyes again, I found my body had become that of a small child. The woman holding me was Sylvia. I still couldn't believe it. I had been reincarnated as this woman's child. Looking at the decoration and scale of this house, I knew this was quite a wealthy upper-class family. Being reborn into a wealthy and powerful family is better than being reborn into an ordinary family. This way I could obtain sufficient cultivation resources, because I wanted revenge. Although I had been reborn, there was one thing I could never forget. That was the anger and desire for revenge in my heart before I died. Even though I was currently only in the infant stage, I still remembered the cultivation method of the Ring of Fire. I was still the most outstanding shadow assassin in the Robert family's history, capable of suppressing my emotions and desires for as long as possible. What I needed now was more patience, because I knew nothing about my current situation. But I was curious about what kind of family this was. Even the Robert family didn't have such magnificent decorations. Just then, a maid ran in frantically, as if there was some urgent matter. From her words, I learned that my grandfather had returned. But why was Sylvia so nervous? When I looked toward the door, I was also stunned. I saw a person with overwhelming presence walk in. Just his presence alone carried this kind of oppressive feeling. Sun-like golden hair, spark-like red eyes, and an old man as cold as if wrapped in ice. Could it be that person? The master of the Zieghart family, known as the Peak of the Continent, destructive king of the North, Raon Zieghart. It seemed like I had been reborn into the strongest family on the continent. Just then, he picked me up and bestowed upon me a name, Raon, meaning quiet like a shadow. What I didn't expect was that I'd received the same name as before. The scene shifted to nighttime. 100 days had passed, and I finally got a quiet night. I didn't know if it was because I had just been born, but I would sleep at regular intervals. Every time I woke up, Sylvia was by my side. Now I finally had some time, so I needed to hurry up and cultivate. I sat cross-legged, compressing the spiritual energy in my body to form a fire ring. Normal breathing techniques absorb natural magic power, but mine through the Ring of Fire was different. It was like a mage's magic circle, forming a ring around the heart that could increase stamina and stimulate physical growth, while also enhancing willpower and affinity for magic. Therefore, I possessed the most perfect conditions for becoming a warrior. This was the highest level breathing technique. Even super strong individuals like Duras had no opportunity to obtain the Ring of Fire, so I could use the fire ring to cultivate both body and spirit. If I could also master Zieghart's swordsmanship, then revenge against Duras would no longer be a fantasy. But because of this body structure, my mana circuits were filled with intense cold, which was why even after sleeping 20 hours, my entire body was still cold. Then I sensed my meridians, and unexpectedly found that 9 of them were blocked. Damn it, if this continued, I would be blocked by the cold in all my mana meridians and then die. I needed to break through the meridian blockages, but throwing away this pure cold energy would be wasteful. Perhaps I could combine it with the flow of fire, letting the two energies circulate together. I didn't expect that after cultivating for just a short while, I was now so tired I couldn't open my eyes. Damn it. As I slowly fell asleep, a figure appeared beside me. It was actually my grandfather. I saw him place his hand on my head. Was he trying to kill me? The scene shifted to the next day. I saw myself crawling around on the ground, but I had to play along. Although my soul was that of an adult, now I had to act like a baby, which was truly embarrassing. Just then, a voice interrupted Sylvia. Seeing him, Sylvia was very happy. The other person was a kindly old man, dressed plainly. When I looked at him, I felt very shocked. Could he be the Ragged Saint? His holy power and medical skills were at the ceiling level of strength. He was the most famous healer on the northwestern continent. But he often traveled around, so ordinary people rarely got to see him. Then he picked me up and asked for my name. When he learned it, he was very incredulous. It actually meant shadow. Then he criticized Glenn for giving a child such a name. He must be getting senile. Then he placed his hand on my abdomen, and after some exploration, his face became heavy. Sylvia was also very confused. What reason could make even the saint feel troubled? Then I learned that I had the bitter cold curse. My mana circuits were blocked by an extremely cold force, not to mention whether I could become a swordsman. With timely treatment, I shouldn't die, but if left like this, I wouldn't live long. Hearing this, Sylvia's calm face suddenly became frightened. So it was this thing. No wonder I felt sleepy every day, but this wasn't a problem for me, because the fire ring I had condensed was slowly melting it away. Just then, a few drops of water fell on my face. When I looked up, it was Sylvia crying. Her tears kept flowing down, and she said she would definitely cure me. Seeing this, my heart was pierced with pain. I had been a shadow assassin for over 10 years and had never experienced such pain. I immediately reached out my little hand to wipe away her tears, and comforted her not to be sad. A moment later, a voice interrupted the Ragged Saint and Glenn, who were discussing. It was Sylvia pushing the door open. Seeing this, Glenn scolded that this was very impolite behavior, but Sylvia directly knelt before them, begging them to save this poor child. But Glenn remained unmoved, and said he wouldn't lift a finger for a worthless child. The only thing he could do was give him the Zieghart name. Then he dragged Sylvia out. Despite her desperate pleas, he remained unmoved. Seeing this, the Ragged Saint sighed. "You stubborn old man, you haven't changed." It turned out that Glenn had specifically invited the Ragged Saint to examine me, because he had sensed that there were major problems with the meridians in my body. From the Ragged Saint's words, I learned that my chances of becoming a swordsman in the future were almost zero. But Glenn seemed to have expected this. He just needed me to live an ordinary life. "It seems you still love your grandson very much, so why did you give him a name meaning shadow?" Glenn explained that Raon didn't just mean shadow. 1,000 years ago, it meant exactly the opposite. The scene shifted. Sylvia was giving me medicine. I didn't expect this medicine to be so bitter, but it did provide significant relief to my body. This was the fast-acting elixir I needed most right now, to accelerate expelling the cold energy from my body. In the blink of an eye, I had been taking elixirs and cultivating for 2 years. Thanks to the elixirs, the time to create the fire ring was shortened considerably. Now I had completed the 1-star ring of fire. After 2 years of hard training, I would play with Sylvia and Helen in the mornings. There probably wasn't a child on the continent who worked harder at living than me. Every day I practiced during nap time and rest time. As time passed, another 3 years went by. Now I was already 5 years old, and my fire ring had also reached 2-star. It took 3 years to finally achieve this. I had also become more sensitive to magic. I owed all of this to the information window. Only I could see it. Ever since I completed the 1-star fire ring, this information and status window suddenly appeared. At first I didn't know what this message was. After some time exploring, I finally understood, though the conditions of poor stamina and the bitter cold curse still existed. Even though I had become 2-star, if I hadn't drunk fire attribute elixirs, it would have taken much longer to reach 2-star. There was also the daily care from Sylvia and Helen. They took such good care of me, it definitely helped. Now I was only 5 years old, I still had plenty of time to grow. The curse was indeed a problem, but my stamina was also very poor. This was why I got tired quickly when playing outside and could barely run. With the strongest assassination techniques, plus the Zieghart family's swordsmanship, I would definitely be able to kill Dearest. What I needed to do now was grow quietly. After all, the number of people who could possibly kill him could be counted on one hand. At that moment, Mother also came to my room, because today we were going to attend an important gathering. When Mother and I appeared, everyone cast contemptuous glances at us. We were severely scolded by the direct descendants. It seemed there was a reason I didn't know about, although I didn't mind being scolded. Just then, the words "shameless Sylvia" reached my ears. These damn bastards, I was getting angry. But at that moment, Mother interrupted me and said not to mind other people's looks. That would bring unnecessary trouble. Then Glenn appeared. I hadn't expected it had been 5 years since I'd seen him. His presence was still so intimidating. As the meeting began, a giant sword descended from the sky, Zieghart's judgment sword. This was why the children had been gathered together, to see how much talent they had in magic. Often the first child was given high expectations, Raon Zieghart. Looking at the color of light emanating from the sword, he had wind attribute, and also received Glenn's approval. Next was from a subsidiary family, Raon Zieghart. The extent of light showed the purity of mana, the sword's tip showed the mana attribute. This was Zieghart's method of judging talent. These people's performance showed that they really valued talent. I thought I wouldn't get good results. Although my fire ring had reached 2-star, there was still a lot of cold energy in my magic circuits. These rankings didn't matter to me, I still had enough time to resolve this. The last one, now it was my turn. As my name was called, the hall suddenly fell silent. I just needed to detect my attribute, then determine my cultivation direction. The moment my hand touched the sword, the giant sword burst forth with golden light, and I didn't know what attribute this belonged to. Then my consciousness came to a space. I saw countless demons appear before my eyes. They were staring intensely at the man in front of them. He slowly raised the sword in his hand. The next second, several golden rays of light swirled around the sword. When he swung down the sword in his hand, all the demons were instantly annihilated. This power could only be described as terrifyingly formidable. As the sword light slowly disappeared, I also returned to reality. I was stunned at that moment. One sword could slaughter demons. Just how strong was this person? But all the light that emanated was absorbed by the giant sword. The others didn't see any attribute. Then Glenn announced the meeting was over. Everyone dispersed. The butler also sighed, but Glenn wasn't so dejected, because all of this was within his expectations. Just then, the giant sword burst forth with an extremely powerful sword intent. Golden light illuminated the hall. Glenn, who always had an expressionless face, now had a completely shocked expression. The golden light of the sun, according to family records. This was the same as Zieghart's first family head, a transcendent power strong enough to melt the flames of the demon realm. Looking at the dazzling light before him, it was so beautiful it was blinding, and he was preparing to implement a plan. The scene shifted. 7 years had passed. Now I was already 12 years old. My fire ring was also preparing to reach 3-star. Although 2-star had provided significant relief to my body, it was still difficult to exercise. Compared to before, this was a decent result. And today came the next judgment stage. I didn't expect today's meeting to end so quickly. Perhaps only branch family members came. Just then, Glenn called my name. As a family member, you should have received orders to participate in basic training. You haven't responded for a month. Hearing this, I was also stunned. Then Mother came out to explain that it was because of my physical condition I couldn't train excessively, but Glenn showed no sign of backing down. In the Zieghart family, you must follow the rules here. If you don't want to, then you can leave. Hearing this, others began gossiping again. Is she going to run away again? A direct descendant, but her offspring is classified as branch family. How laughable. Hearing this, I understood why these people treated her this way. Sylvia couldn't condense spiritual energy. Although she had learned swordsmanship, she left home. Married my father, but after she became pregnant with me, my father died and she had no choice but to return to Zieghart. After she willingly gave up her status as a direct descendant, she endured endless ridicule and sarcasm from others. Even so, I was Sylvia's son. I couldn't bear to see her treated that way. Then I walked toward the hall and said that from now on I would participate in all of Zieghart family's training. Hearing this, he was very angry. You dare to mention the name Zieghart? He merely glared at me, and my body felt like it was being torn to pieces. This pressure was even stronger than Robert's. Was this the power of the destructive king of the north? Then Mother came up to protect me. The guards beside us also pleaded for me. But Glenn was very serious, with no compromise. Assassins are people who live in darkness. They never show themselves. However, I was no longer a lonely person. I would no longer hide in darkness living as an assassin. Now I am Raon Zieghart. I will restore Sylvia to her original position. I knew Mother stayed in the family all for me to have better life conditions. I must use my own hands to bring them back. Then I said, now that I'm branch family, I don't know how noble the name Zieghart is. This is why I want to participate in training, to see with my own eyes what kind of place Zieghart really is. Glenn said, interesting, you want to understand the family through training? This was the only way I could understand Zieghart now. Then my consciousness gradually blurred, and I fell heavily to the ground. Using my shadow assassin knowledge and the ring of fire, standing out in this family wasn't impossible. Let you see how solid a small stone can be. The scene shifted to the training ground. This person was Raon Zieghart. From the people he sent out to investigate, he learned that Raon was someone full of diseases. But this made him very confused about how Raon could withstand the family head's pressure. Then he sent a spy to infiltrate my side, to observe all my activities, and everything that happened around me. On the other side, Glenn came to the family's 5th training ground. A red-haired man was resting. Then Glenn said, stop pretending to sleep. Hearing this, he chuckled playfully. I didn't expect anything could be hidden from the family head. This person was the Sword of Light, Reincarnated. You haven't changed a bit in 50 years. He laughed and said, elves don't age that easily. And he had guessed the reason Glenn came here. So you're here because of your youngest grandson, right? Sylvia came before. I didn't expect our family head would also come to plead for him. Then Rimmer said, the 5th training ground doesn't accept anyone's jurisdiction. Even when it comes to your youngest grandson, I won't make exceptions. Glenn expressed agreement, which stunned him. Glenn said, don't lower the training intensity. When you think it's appropriate, you can increase the training, filter out those without willpower. Would you even filter out your own grandson? That doesn't sound like your character. It seems our family head loves his grandson more than I thought. Don't worry, I will definitely train them into qualified warriors. Well then, goodbye, come visit more often. What Rimmer didn't expect was that the family head would actually come, and even ask for intensified training for his sickly grandson. This made him more and more curious about what kind of person Raon was. On the other side, after 7 years of cultivation, my Ring of Fire had now reached 3-star. This should be a qualitative improvement, because I felt my body's perception had strengthened, and my mind was clearer than before. Mother had also provided me with great help. Most importantly, this magical status window had accelerated my growth. But this was where things really began. Zieghart's training was renowned for its difficulty, and my 3-star fire ring was also the foundation for cultivation. I had to stabilize it for future training. I must use their proud swordsmanship to silence those who mocked me. When my strength becomes strong enough, I'll go settle accounts with Darius. I won't rest until I personally finish off that bastard. Then Mother came to my room, because tomorrow I would start going to the training ground. And I knew what Mother was concerned about. She worried that my body couldn't handle the family's training, and asked if I could go next year instead. I no longer wanted to retreat, because I could no longer tolerate the way those people looked at Mother, whenever they looked down on Mother. I felt frustrated and couldn't control myself, so I believed that when I became strong, no one would dare look down on Mother. Hearing this, Sylvia was also relieved. Then Mother told me about some of the past. She had met my father during a mission, but it was difficult for Sylvia to be with him, because he was just an ordinary knight. So Mother destroyed her own mana circuits and left the Zieghart family. And I also had a sister who was 2 years older than me, named Shia, but this beautiful life was shattered one day. Mother encountered enemies of the Zieghart family. Since Father was just an ordinary knight, both Father and Mother were desperate at the time, but Father did his best to hire a pair of mercenaries to protect Mother. But he was too far away at the time. When the mercenaries arrived, Father and sister had already been brutally killed. Mother, who was pregnant with me, had nowhere to go and returned to Zieghart. This was why the family members looked down on Mother, because it sounded very selfish to pursue her own happiness. She had abandoned her responsibility to care for the family. Then I comforted her, saying, "You gave me new life. You cared for me meticulously. Even if others say you're selfish, you are my mother, no one can replace you. I will definitely restore your position in the family." Hearing this, Mother shed tears. A moment later, I comforted Mother. Next, I needed to cultivate for a while, because tomorrow I was going to training. Now I was condensing fire rings faster and faster. Just then, a flame suddenly appeared, and it was still constantly condensing. In the blink of an eye, it took the shape of a demon, saying, "In the name of the second monarch of Devilldom, Wrath, I will accomplish your revenge." Seeing this, I was stunned. What the hell was this thing? When it noticed me, it couldn't believe it. How could it be a little brat? Because summoning it required very strong anger, which shouldn't be something a child could release. Then it checked again and confirmed I was the person it was looking for. Deep in my soul was hidden intense anger. "So surrender your body, I will help you complete your revenge." Hearing this, I learned that it should be the demon that appeared before my death, but it came too late, because I wanted to personally finish off Darius. Then I rejected its proposal. Such a rare opportunity, I wouldn't give up easily. Then it laughed, "You have no right to refuse, because the great demon monarch has already made the decision." Then white flames swirled around me. But I couldn't feel any temperature from the flames. The next second, they attacked me, instantly entering my body. At that moment, I only felt my entire body was frozen. Even my heart was about to stop. This guy should be ice attribute. Then an illusion appeared before me. "Vent your anger, even if they are gods, the Demon King will kill them." Damn it, cold spread throughout my body, but thanks to my improved cold resistance, otherwise I would have frozen to death by now. And it wasn't just attacking my body, it was also corroding my soul. However, I had to stay conscious, because I didn't know what it would do to my family if I surrendered my body. I couldn't give up my body, even if it might bring fatal consequences. If you succumb to your anger and accept me, you will find comfort. Stop this meaningless struggle. Now I felt like my body was about to shatter. I had nearly reached my physical limit. If this continued, I would die soon. Just then, I suddenly thought of my Ring of Fire. If I could resist the cold flames because of my cold resistance, maybe I could use the fire ring to resist both physical and mental pain. This was my only choice now. Then I activated the Ring of Fire. Just as I thought, much of the cold was dispelled. And seeing this, the demon was also incredulous. Although I may have just awakened, how could such a thing happen? A human brat actually resisted my attack. Then I said, "I refuse to let a wandering ghost take my body." Hearing this, it flew into a rage. "You dare call a demon monarch a wandering ghost? What else? You can't even beat a little kid, yet you dare call yourself a monarch?" But I didn't dare be careless, because it had just mentioned awakening, so its strength should be very powerful. At the same time, a dialogue box suddenly appeared, unlocking an additional skill, which made me very confused. But the demon felt very surprised. How could my authority be in his hands? Hearing this, I asked, Did you create this status window? Of course I created it myself, but why can you use it? I was curious about this, but it didn't explain the reason. Is it to accelerate growth? Hearing what I said, it became nervous. It seemed to be as I guessed, because the growth brought by the Ring of Fire was much faster than before, but it was all after this status window appeared, so it had accelerated my growth. And the demon still wanted me to surrender my body. Then I threw a punch at it, but it went straight through its body, so your soul form is non-physical. This made the demon very angry. You're insulting a noble demon. But what made me curious was whether others could see it, possibly like the status window. Maybe I was the only one who could see it. Just as I waved my hand to disperse its body, it suddenly flew toward my arm, then transformed into a bracelet, saying my seal was only recently broken, but my abilities will recover. By then you won't be able to stop me. I will definitely take your body. This damn bastard. Although I wanted to throw it away immediately, if I forcibly separated it from me, I wasn't sure if this window would disappear, and I was worried it would harm my family. So it was better to keep it by my side, that way I could watch it, and I was clear that as long as I became stronger than it, it couldn't do anything to me. Also, why was it a flower bracelet? The scene shifted to the next day. Mother got up early. Although we had talked it through last night, her face still showed worry. And today, I would officially begin learning Zieghart's swordsmanship. As I headed to the 5th training ground, Helen told me to take care of my body, and I nodded. While Mother looked worried, should Miss send him off with such an expression? Young Master Raon will be discouraged. Hearing this, Mother smiled and told me to just do my best, don't push myself too hard. To keep Mother from worrying, I said if it was too difficult I would give up, then I bid them farewell. Mother stood at the door gazing at my departing figure, lost in thought. Although she knew the coach of the 5th training ground was Rimmer, this was the first time being separated from Raon for so long. Even though I had already made significant progress, my mother still worried I would get hurt, so I must return safely. The scene shifted, and I arrived at Zieghart's 5th training ground. Many trainees had already gathered here. In the training ground, there were not only people from direct and subsidiary lines, but also some who had received recommendation letters or came from vassal clans. Just then, 2 of them noticed me. They were mocking my skinny appearance. A sick person like this also comes here, he'll definitely give up halfway. More importantly, he was wearing such an ugly bracelet. Hearing this, the demon was very angry, wanting to devour these 2 rude guys. I walked forward, deciding to face them directly. If you have something to say, just tell me directly. Don't you know you shouldn't gossip behind people's backs? But the 2 showed no remorse, even using their subsidiary family status to pressure me. I don't know where a subsidiary family gets the courage. Hearing this, one of them even wanted to attack me. Just as I was about to act, a voice stopped him. Fighting here? Do you want to tarnish Zieghart's reputation? This person was a direct family member, Raon Zieghart. The 2 who were so arrogant just now could only apologize repeatedly. Then he came forward to scold me, telling me to know my place, and said that as long as he was willing, he could erase a speck of dust at any time. If you don't want to be kicked out of the training ground, behave yourself. He was targeting me because he was jealous that I had gained the family's attention. So get lost now, someone like you could never pass. I retorted unceremoniously. Are you done talking? You're just a direct descendant. What right do you have to yell at me? I think if you go complain to your father, you might get that right. Hearing this, Raon was very angry. In this tense atmosphere, Instructor Rimmer appeared. So you've already started fighting? Although I'm looking forward to you proving yourselves, it should be after training ends. Seeing this, my heart suddenly trembled. This man was actually the Sword of Light, Rimmer Diaz, but I heard his Dantian was destroyed and he retired. I didn't expect he'd be at the training ground. So do you still have objections? Raon could only leave unwillingly. A moment later, all the trainees had gathered together. Then he introduced himself, and all the following training would be guided by him. Looking at the dense crowd below, he then made a suggestion. I will reduce this number through testing. Just leave 1/4 of the people. The students below were all dissatisfied hearing this. If you have any complaints, go find the family head, and now the test begins. So what are you still standing there for? Then everyone started running. Stamina and willpower are the foundation of martial arts. Until I tell you to stop, use all your strength to run. Just then, the demon was dissatisfied with my current position. Why are you running at the very back? And I knew this shouldn't be a race but a stamina test. Rimmer was looking at a person's potential and character. He wouldn't just focus on surface things. So I had to conserve my strength and persist to the end. And everyone was most optimistic about Raon and Runan. The 2 stood out very prominently in the group. I didn't expect such level at 12 years old. Their future is definitely limitless. At the same time, they also noticed me. As they expected, I was the last one. Looking at him, he probably won't last much longer. But Rimmer didn't think so. He thought I was a very interesting person. He hadn't seen someone like me in a long time, and Rimmer had a special pair of eyes. Except for those strongest on the continent whom he couldn't see through, because they had depths that Rimmer couldn't reach. But the child in front of me was different. He could see through a child's future at a glance, but I made him feel very strange. Because he couldn't see anything, this meant my potential exceeded his imagination, which he found very interesting. Just then, the two in front mocked me for being at the back, betting I couldn't last 10 minutes. But what they didn't know was that running was nothing but routine for me. In my past, Robert would release hungry beasts to train killers. For survival, I had to risk my life running, and there were traps everywhere. In comparison, this test is really too simple. Even Rimmer felt surprised. He didn't expect Raon to still be persisting. His stamina was already exhausted, yet he showed no signs of stopping. This could no longer be called persistence or tenacity, because this kind of willpower could only appear in warriors who constantly train and experience death multiple times. How could a child have such willpower? He truly is someone who can bring surprises. When Buran looked back, he felt it was incredible. How is this guy still running? Because he had heard from others that Raon was an extremely weak person, impossible to persist in this kind of long-term training. He was very unconvinced about this. Then he immediately activated his spiritual energy. In an instant, he pulled away from everyone else. Seeing this, I was also stunned. After all, he's still just a child. In comparison, Runan is much more mature than him. We shouldn't compete with each other in this test, because this is a battle with oneself. I have no reason to be affected by him and disrupt my rhythm. As the sun gradually rose, many people chose to give up. What surprised them was that Raon was still persisting. Doesn't he get tired? Don't talk as if this is easy. Right now I can't feel any warmth at all. Instead, I feel like I'm about to freeze to death. My heart and lungs are about to shatter at any moment. But fortunately, I can use the Ring of Fire to restore my stamina. The only comforting thing is that the bracelet is accelerating its growth. I think I need to go all out to make its effects fully manifest. Just then, the demon mocked me. Even though you've received the blessing of my energy, you're still falling behind. Why don't you give me your body and I'll help you win the race? Damn it, this guy is still constantly scheming for my body. Right now my body is in a weakened state. Then it launched an attack on me. In an instant, I felt my soul being torn apart by it. But I must endure. My anger made me lose consciousness. Now I need to pretend as much as possible that nothing happened. Then I signaled for it to stop these meaningless attempts. If my body can't handle it, it won't benefit you either. But the demon had no intention of giving up. No one in the world can withstand the wrath of the monarch of Devildom. Let me see how long you can endure. Right now, I can only persist. If I show any weakness here, it will immediately devour me. After a moment, the demon didn't expect I could still persist. Why doesn't my anger affect you? And it wasn't as easy for me as it appeared. Because this was extremely painful. I felt like I was about to die and couldn't even control my body. Now even my vision was getting blurrier, and a suffocating feeling surged up. Could I only get this far? Just then, Rimmer announced the test was over. Buran looked at me with hostility, but I didn't want to pay attention to it. Even Runan didn't expect me to persist. Because of my physical condition, even these simple tests weren't easy. The demon was very unwilling. Are you some kind of monster? That's why I told you not to do those meaningless things. And now I feel that the Ring of Fire inside my body has greatly improved. Just then, a status window suddenly appeared. Because my exercise just exceeded my endurance limit, I gained attribute increases. The demon's eyes widened. Why would there be bonus attribute rewards? Is the window bugged? After a moment, Rimmer said those who persisted did very well. About what I said before the test. I was lying when I said I would eliminate a quarter of you. Hearing this, the trainees below were very dissatisfied. But Rimmer wouldn't indulge them. If this were a real competition, most of you would be eliminated. And at the beginning, he also said everyone should give their all. In the end, only one person out of 160 achieved this. There were even cunning guys who used spiritual energy. But he said this didn't count as cheating because he hadn't explicitly forbidden it. As long as you follow my instructions, you definitely won't fail, so don't worry. From now on, you're all temporary trainees. If you pass the exam within 6 months, I'll remove the temporary part. And I'll also select an outstanding student and give them a reward. So everyone work hard. The scene shifts, Rimmer heads to the back mountain. Someone was already waiting there. You've taken away my lunch break time again, my family head. It turns out the family head came to understand Raon's situation. You shouldn't ask me this question, because Rimmer knows the family head came here, and he should have seen everything that happened. As the family expected, Buran and Runan have the best talent. The other children also have potential to become pillars of the family in the future, but only with Raon. I can't see anything in him. I don't even understand how he managed to persist and run to the end, because from the surface, his stamina should have been exhausted, yet he didn't stop. This is the first time since you that I can't see anything. After I retire, I've always felt life was boring, but he makes me feel that future training will become very interesting. I even think he could take my place. Glenn said this was just a coincidence, and it would be hard for him to become a warrior. But Rimmer knew in his heart. He himself had long known that Raon was destined to be extraordinary. After the test ended, 3 people were very dissatisfied with my test results, but I ignored them and turned to head to the training room. But obviously they had no intention of letting me go. The blonde kid is named Raon Zieghart, and he also learned from others. that Raon should have been a waste since childhood, so he deduced that Raon must have taken recovery potions, because they were prepared by the ragged saint. Hearing this, the other two were very angry. Then he's cheating, Crine said, so we need to give him a little lesson. After a moment, they caught up with me and pushed me down. But I didn't immediately fight back, then asked why they were attacking me. Just then, the two beside me angrily cursed. In the test, you took recovery potions and still pretend you don't know anything, cheater. This is simply an absurd reason. After all, they're just a bunch of kids who haven't even grown all their hair. As they spoke, they were about to attack me. They looked excited, as if they hadn't bullied people less often. Then his fist came toward me. What I didn't expect was that I knocked him flying with just one punch. Seeing this, the other two also felt it was incredible. Is this the kind of strength a sick person should have? Even the demon's jaw dropped, and the blonde kid was now lying on the ground with his eyes rolled back. It seems using fists is better for communication. Then one of them also attacked me, but I dodged with a sidestep. I grabbed his arm and delivered a knee strike to his stomach, while the other one thought he was holding back. Little did he know the next second my fist had already appeared on his face. The demon, seeing this, also showed a worshipful look. What a magnificent sight. In less than a few moves, all of them were beaten down. The blonde kid could only crawl to me and beg for mercy, but how could I easily let them go? Then I stepped on his hand, because I didn't know if someone had instructed them. Before I finish, let me ask you one thing. Who made you do this? Was it Burin? Hearing this, he quickly explained it had nothing to do with Burin, so it wasn't him, but I guess he hasn't completely fallen. If tonight's events are known by other students, you know the consequences. Then I grabbed his hair. Remember to stay far away when you see me in the future. The frightened blonde kid said, I promise I won't even touch your shadow in the future. Good, so now you can get lost. And everything that happened here, Rimmer saw it all, but he didn't come out to stop it, because he seemed to see what the family head looked like when he was young. And his martial arts talent is very high, an unknown talent hidden among geniuses. Rimmer is very much looking forward to this. The scene shifts, I return to my room, and at this moment the status window prompted that the recent behavior detected anger, agility increased by double. The demon cursed, what kind of garbage rule is this? I said, didn't you develop this window? Obviously, I've never tried it on anyone else. You stole my energy from me. I said it didn't matter to me, and the demon called me an ungrateful guy, and the demon started scheming in his heart. Then it said it would give me a suggestion, a small wager. If you win, I'll give you attribute points, but if you lose, you have to bear my wrath. The condition is to pass the official trainee assessment and get first place. So you're talking about what Rimmer mentioned about becoming an official trainee by getting first place in the exam? The demon confirmed this. Then what is this random trait? It immediately said this is one of the qualities possessed by demons. The skills you gain will match your level. And what does failing to create 10 points of emotion and anger mean? The power you gain all comes from my energy, but the anger in it is almost zero. But if you absorb my angry emotions, no matter how strong your willpower is, you'll never be able to control your emotions again, and your body will be under my control. In the end, it still wants my body. From its words and actions so far, I don't think it's lying. It even honestly answered all my questions. Compared to the potential rewards, the risk of failure is relatively small. Maybe this is a poisonous apple, and I have no choice. However, I am a reincarnated person. Then I accepted its wager. The demon also showed a satisfied expression. With my previous life's experience, there's no way I could lose this wager. The scene shifts to a few days later. Everyone was lying exhausted on the ground, and Rimmer had been training running, and some simple basics. Many trainees were dissatisfied with this because they only wanted to learn swordsmanship. Even Burin felt that just doing basic practice would make his swordsmanship rusty, so he went to practice swordsmanship. Seeing this, the demon also said I should follow along, but I clearly knew that I needed to solidify the basics now. Because my current body is too weak, practicing swordsmanship is purely a waste of time. Before that, I need to train my strength and endurance. Due to my cold chi, my stamina is obviously worse than others. For growth and training, basics are the most important. I must focus on strengthening my body. At the same time, Runan also noticed Raon's abnormal behavior. Compared to yesterday, his weight load had doubled. But Runan felt very strange. If hard training could increase the weight you can lift. But he's a weak, sick person, yet the weight he lifts every day keeps increasing. This obviously doesn't make sense, because even she herself couldn't guarantee she could increase 20 pounds of weight in a week. She was very curious about what gave a sick person such great willpower. She felt there must be other secrets about Raon. Driven by curiosity, she mustered the courage to come before me, and asked why you came here. I didn't know how to explain this. I had never had a conversation with her. But I also didn't want to explain anything. Just then, she smelled a special scent. She felt her body suddenly fill with strength, so she looked at me with disbelief. Then she directly sat next to me. Because I wasn't familiar with her originally and she suddenly came close, the atmosphere became somewhat awkward. The next second, she started exercising. Whatever. At least it doesn't affect me. When I got up to go to the side, she followed behind me. How were all the Zieghart family children so strange? This puzzled me greatly, and Raon silently exercised. She clearly felt that after smelling that faint fragrance, her body became much lighter. Thanks to this, she could now lift much heavier weights than before. And I was also very curious, why are you following me? But she said she didn't know. Well, how does she seem even stranger than me? Raon knew that Raon should be hiding secrets, and she now had only one thought, that following Raon to exercise could achieve twice the result with half the effort. At the same time, when Byrne came out of the training room, he couldn't believe what he saw. Raon was actually exercising with Raon. This made them very unhappy. Damn it, what's the benefit of mixing with someone who should be directly expelled? Byrne said repeating this kind of simple strength training was meaningless. He also knew that because of Raon's lack of physical strength, he needed basic training, but no matter how hard he tried, he would always be inferior to them in quality. Although he didn't know what the exam content would be. But he felt that to develop his martial arts, continuing sword training was a good approach. There was no need to waste time on an insignificant person. Then they left. After a moment, a chubby kid came over to talk with me. His name is Dorian. He asked if he could join us in training because he wanted to learn the correct posture. I didn't mind this. Then he rummaged through his backpack and shared his last snacks with me. These were his favorite cookies. Seeing him so enthusiastic, I couldn't refuse. And I also noticed that Raon didn't get any. She stared straight at the cookies in my hand. I think she must really like these snacks, because her eyes were sparkling. Looking at her very expectant expression, it was really impossible to refuse. Now I had another strange person by my side. In the following time, we did the most basic exercises every day. Although I used to train alone, having several people exercise together felt pretty good. As time passed bit by bit, 6 months had passed in the blink of an eye since training began. Every day we was desperately training at the risk of life. On the first day of training, the silhouettes of those who were ahead of me could no longer be seen now. And now there were only 2 people ahead of me. Today finally came the day of the family assessment. All the trainees' family members would come to the scene to witness the results of their training. The demon also reminded me, don't forget your wager with me. If you can't surpass them and get first place, then prepare to accept my wrath. I said. Until the last moment, everything is unknown. And Dorian lying on the ground caught my attention. What are you doing lying there? It turned out Dorian was too nervous. So do you have anxiety? At the same time, Raon interrupted me. Then she took out a cookie. I said I wasn't hungry. Byrne was also full of hostility toward me. Why are all the people around me like them, each one stranger than the last? Mother and Helen in the audience also noticed. They were very happy because I had changed a lot in these months, and had made some friends, watching Raon slowly grow up. Sylvia felt proud of him. Just then, a voice shocked everyone present. It was actually the family head. He had never come to the training ground to watch an assessment test before. Everyone was discussing this. Even Rimmer felt surprised. He didn't expect our family head would personally observe. The assessment concerns the family's future development. Looking at your expression, shouldn't I appear here? Rimmer could only smile awkwardly. Of course not, you're very welcome. And the assessment was about to begin. Everyone in Zieghart was curious about what the test standards would be revealed. Then Rimmer's eyes became sharp. A powerful aura burst from his body. The trainees were shocked seeing this. I also vaguely guessed the content of the assessment. So, withstanding my pressure, this is the assessment content. Aura is inseparable from a warrior's life. This exam will test through aura whether they have the talent to become martial artists. Just then, parents in the audience expressed opposition, because these children had just awakened or hadn't even awakened yet. If they tested their aura now, this would be very unfair to them. Rimmer sighed. Aura is not only expressed through spiritual energy. True aura is the soul connection that warriors establish through their accumulated achievements in daily life. This is a warrior's testimony, and can even be manifested without spiritual energy. Glenn also responded to this. Rimmer is right. A person can certainly gain aura through their lifestyle. Even people without spiritual energy will manifest aura due to the enormous pressure from training difficulty. I believe you have no problems with this test now, so the test officially begins. First, Raon Zieghart. Then Raon walked forward. You just need to touch me under the aura I impose, and you pass. If you show the perseverance you had in training and give your all, you should be able to overcome it. Then let's begin. The next instant, a powerful aura burst from Rimmer's body. This made Raon unable to look directly at him. Rimmer also provided guidance. If you use spiritual energy, you'll immediately fail. Use the willpower you developed in training to overcome it. Then Raon walked forward step by step, even though the pressure almost made her unable to breathe. But she still reached out her palm with difficulty. Finally, she successfully touched Rimmer. Well done, so you passed the test. I can see the results of your hard training. I hope you can continue steadily forward with this mindset. Then next, Dorian. Then he nervously walked forward. I won't explain the process in detail, you saw it just now. I hope you use the willpower you built in training to pass through my pressure. But Dorian was very nervous. Can I really do it? If you don't do this, you'll fail. Show your courage, I believe you can do it. And I also saw that Rimmer applied different levels of pressure to each person. He was adjusting the pressure level according to the children's level and training degree, so he really carefully observed all the children. Dorian also successfully touched Rimmer. So you also passed the test. You lack too much confidence in your skills. I suggest you lift your head and do things from now on. As time passed bit by bit, soon only the last two remained. Next, Raon Zieghart. I believe you're ready. Let's start immediately. The next second, he felt Rimmer's powerful aura. So the exam is to resist the pressure and make contact with him? Then how did Renan and the others persist? Under the pressure, he felt unable to take another step forward. Rimmer indicated, you absolutely have more talent than anyone. Among these people, those who can compare with you are few and far between. However, you and those who listen to you are all wasting time. Empty swordsmanship that has lost its true purpose. What meaning does it have? What you should do is not Polish swordsmanship, but train your body and willpower. Every time you encounter something you can't persist with, you activate spiritual energy. If you use it now too, I'll immediately give you a failing grade. Hearing this, Byrne remembered his brother's failure experience. He couldn't forget his father's cold, ruthless eyes. If he failed, he believed his father would ruthlessly abandon him too. And finally, Byrne also relied on his own will, successfully moved forward, and touched Rimmer. You're only 12 years old. I hope you stop using adult training methods. You should have training suitable for your age. If you keep looking up, someday you'll be tripped by tree branches. Then now there's only the last one left. Raon Zieghart, you're the last one. Are you ready? I confirmed this. Then a powerful aura came toward me. In an instant, it covered the entire training ground. Even people in the audience could clearly feel it. Seeing this, Mother couldn't help but become nervous. Even the family head felt surprised. Could Ron really withstand such great pressure? So this is my test? Rimmer answered very definitely. The talent I see in you absolutely exceeds Renan and Byrne. Show your true strength. Let me see how strong you are. And I clearly knew. The soul level is not in the body, but in the soul container. And now I not only have Raon's soul, but also the spirit of a top shadow assassin. I walked straight toward him. The family head seeing this also felt very surprised. And my appearance of having no pressure made Rimmer stunned too. How did this guy do it? When I touched Rimmer's body, everyone in the audience was incredulous. Glenn was also particularly shocked by this. So, is the test over? Everyone present felt incredulous. Because in their view, I should be unable to move an inch. A sick person without even spiritual energy couldn't possibly do all this. Rimmer was also very curious how I did it. Because the pressure he had just applied far exceeded what my body could bear. And he just wanted to play a joke on me. But he didn't expect I would actually pass. Then I signaled to Rimmer, now you can announce the results. Rimmer didn't expect to zone out. When he came to his senses, he could only smile awkwardly. The last contestant passed the test. The trainee selection ends here. Next, I will introduce to everyone the most outstanding trainee you all want to know about. Parents in the audience held their breath. The most outstanding student of Training Ground 5 is Raon Zieghart. Hearing this, Mother shed tears of excitement. My son is the most outstanding student. Everyone was also discussing. They really couldn't believe Raon actually got first place. Just then, Byrne said he couldn't accept this result, and questioned whether Rimmer had gone easy on him, because he felt Raon was inferior to him in endurance, strength, and talent. He couldn't accept someone like Raon becoming an outstanding trainee. Hearing this, people on stage also felt it wasn't unreasonable. Raon didn't even have spiritual energy, and he suffered from Frost Curse. It was possible he bribed the instructor. This left Rimmer stunned. Byrne felt that since we were Zieghart warriors, rather than such a trial, he proposed having a real competition with me. Do you desire to become the best trainee that much? Then Rimmer indicated to the family head. Head of the family, what should we do now? You little brat throwing the problem to me, Raon. Others seem unable to accept this result. Do you accept his challenge? I directly refused. The test is over and the results are out. I have no reason to duel with him. This brings me no benefit. You always talk about direct lineage and honor. I didn't expect you to lose so miserably. And the family head also gave a solution. If you accept the challenge and achieve victory, I will give you a bronze medal. Hearing this, my heart shook violently. A bronze medal? Zieghart's reward for outstanding members, divided into gold, silver, and bronze levels. According to the different types, you can get different rewards. Even a bronze medal is personally awarded by the family head. This is indeed an irrefusable condition. Since the family head is also dissatisfied with my position, then I accept his challenge. Byrne looked at me with hostility. This time, I will definitely become the most outstanding trainee. If you use spiritual energy or weapons, you will be disqualified. Then the match begins. As the referee gave the command, Burren quickly rushed toward me, his fist swung heavily toward me, then came a divine dragon tail sweep. But I blocked them all. At this age, having such strength, he was indeed outstanding among his peers. Seeing this, Burren used the fist technique his father taught him, Void Tiger Fist. His attacks suddenly became fierce. In others' eyes, I was just constantly dodging. You're even weaker than me, and you're from a branch family. How dare you steal my best trainee position? The reason Burren cared so much about first place was all because he saw his brother's experience. Under his father's pressure, he could only keep working hard, just to prove himself before his father, so anyone blocking his way had to be defeated. But for Raon, even if his speed was faster, it wouldn't be enough to knock him down. At the same time, I felt his movement slow down, and could clearly see his attack patterns. Then he leaped up, launching his final attack. It's over, Raon Zieghart. You don't really think it ends like this, do you? I kept building up power, and used the same fist technique as him. The next second, the two fists collided with each other. What I didn't expect was that Burren was the one who got knocked back. This confused Burren greatly. How could Raon know this move? Now, it's my turn to counterattack. Under my continuous power buildup, a tiger fist even more powerful than what he had just used attacked him. Just one punch made him lose his fighting ability. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. How is this possible? Even the family head felt very surprised. How does he know Void Tiger Fist? Then Burren asked with confusion, how do you know this? I said it was you who showed me, and I simply imitated your technique. Everyone was shocked by my operation. This doesn't make sense, because no one had taught me Void Tiger Fist. They speculated whether it was secretly passed to him. Looking at everything happening before him, Rimmer also felt very surprised. By throwing a counter-rotating counterattack, he was able to neutralize the Void Tiger Fist's follow. But he could convert this power into his own strength. Such a person can only be described as a genius. His future achievements are destined to stand at the continent's peak. This is the talent Zieghart was looking for. Then Rimmer announced the result. I think everyone will have no more objections. The winner is Raon Zieghart. After the match ended, Mother nervously ran toward me, hugging me tightly. Let Mother see if you've gotten thinner from hunger. Runon's parents affirmed her performance, while Burren only had a butler supporting him beside him. Just then, he noticed his father watching from a distance. Those cold eyes, then he walked away without looking back. I suppose Father is very disappointed in me. He could only watch his father's departing figure. The scene shifts to the evening. His father didn't look at him directly even once, and Burren could only lower his head waiting for his father's scolding. Just then, a stern voice muttered, "Do you still remember what I told you?" Burren said he hadn't forgotten. My requirements for you aren't high. I told you to defeat the Sullian family's girl, then beat her severely and take first place among trainees. But you lost to that trash abandoned by the direct line. Are you trying to make me lose face? Or do you want to be like your brother? You've already messed up the first chance. But they will announce grades after the student graduation ceremony and select the best student in the class. So this is your last chance. If you still want to maintain your direct family member status, then go seize the opportunity. This made Burren very angry. It's all that damn guy's fault. I already worked so hard, yet I lost to such trash. Unknowingly, he walked to the training room. It turned out he had gotten used to coming here. 6 months had passed without him realizing it. Then he slowly pushed open the door. After training ended, this place became deserted. Is this what he often used for training? At the same time, he saw the storage lockers in the distance and noticed my name. Taking a look should be fine, right? Besides, I'm not stealing anything. But what he saw inside shocked him greatly. It was filled with a box of worn-out shoes. At a glance, you could see there were more than 10 pairs. So he consumed this many pairs of shoes in 6 months? Thinking about himself, he had only changed 2 pairs. Now thinking carefully, he really worked very hard. No matter what time period, he was always there training. The training room and running field were filled with his traces everywhere. When I ignored basic skills and swung my sword showing off, or when I was comfortably resting in the dormitory. What he demonstrated was Zieghart's true training method, and I had been doing the opposite all along. Just then, a sound interrupted him. It was a dumbbell falling to the ground. Looking at the dumbbell on the ground, and the worn shoes in his hands, he was lost in thought. Then he put the shoes back in the locker, and arranged them neatly, then left. On the way back, he was very quiet. Gone was the complaining from when he came. So what right do I have to question others' efforts? Burren's eyes became determined because he found the direction for his efforts. After training ended, the demon fulfilled his promise. But what puzzled him was, having lived for hundreds of years, he had never encountered someone like Raon. So who exactly are you, guy? Stop overthinking. Before that, explain what this ability is. Perception of the Snowflower. This is an ability that can increase your sensing range. Currently it's 1-star level, so sensing ability will increase by about 10%. The demon proudly said, with this king's perception, you can sense things 10 times farther than your original perception. This is indeed a good ability, but why is it called Snowflower Perception? This is my hobby. Don't you think the name is cool? Let me give you a little suggestion. Don't randomly name things in the future. The scene shifts to the next day. The butler brought word, asking me to go to the family head. Mother looked nervous. Did Raon do something wrong? The butler explained not to worry. The family head was fulfilling his previous promise, personally awarding the family bronze medal. After a moment, I appeared in the family head's conference hall. I gave my greetings. Glenn said, "Although I don't like doing this, I will still keep my promise." Immediately after, he had the butler present a bronze medal. "Raon Zieghart, as I promised, I shall grant you a bronze medal. You can exchange this for weapons or martial techniques of equivalent value." Looking at the bronze medal before me, I hesitated for a moment. "Then may I ask you something about Sylvia?" Hearing this, Glenn's brow furrowed. What must I do to restore my mother's status to what it once was? Both men were quite surprised at this moment, not expecting Raon to ask such a thing. "So what you're asking is to restore her position as a direct family member." I gave an affirmative response, and at the same time, I felt the family head suddenly become gentler. What was this about? If you truly want to restore her status, the best way is through achievement that the entire family recognizes. But this isn't as easy as it sounds. Gaining others' recognition here is like plucking a star from the sky. It's nearly impossible, especially for a little brat like you. No, you said it was still possible. I then put the bronze medal back, thanking the family head for his answer, and left without looking back. But just then, the family head called out to me, "You haven't taken your reward yet. You only asked a question. Its value isn't worth a bronze medal." This left me very confused. I never thought the destructive king of the north would say such words. "Then speak your wish. I do indeed have something I want." So I indicated I needed a cultivation technique. The family head gestured that when you begin basic training, the instructor will teach you. But what I need is a technique better than what basic training teaches. I want to exchange for a technique worth the bronze medal's value. Because relying solely on my previous cultivation technique is completely insufficient, I need to become much stronger. To help Mother restore her family's status, and of course, Dreas's head, I need a stronger cultivation technique, and Glenn said nothing more about this. He simply snapped his fingers. Then a large door slowly opened. A massive library appeared before my eyes. Books densely surrounded me everywhere, so this is the Zieghart family's library. When I looked up, it was 3 or 4 stories high. With so many books, how should I choose? Glenn then indicated, "You just need to stand in the middle and reach out to feel. The book you need most will appear." I can't choose for myself? Then things become troublesome. I then reached out, imagining something a bit better than my previous shadow assassin technique would do, hoping something useful would appear. What technique would it be? At the same time, all the books in the library heard my plea. A book with traces of age on its cover slowly moved, then flew into the air emitting brilliant light. To me, it was just an old, worn book. But the family head's heart was deeply shaken. Even the butler showed an expression of disbelief. Why would it be this one? How did you do it? And I looked at this old book with equal confusion. 10,000 Flames Cultivation, a cultivation technique I'd never heard of. I curiously flipped through the pages. The next second, the book erupted with a powerful aura. Countless pages flew out from the book. In an instant, they surrounded me. So what was this situation? The pages then transformed into several flames. Seeing this, Glenn fell into deep thought, not expecting her child had already grown to this extent. In the past, Glenn ignored Sylvia for the sake of developing the family's affairs. For this, she chose to leave the family. Even her marriage didn't receive a single blessing. He thought emotions were useless things to him. This also gave him demonic military power. The family status was also pushed to the continent's peak. After that, he felt like he had lost something. When he learned that his son-in-law and niece were attacked and died on the spot, and the attackers were Zieghart's enemies. Only then did Glenn realize what he had done. Turned out he had neglected so many things. When he regained his emotions, everything was too late. Time could no longer be changed. From then on, he made up his mind that even if Raon and Sylvia hated him, he would protect them. After a moment, the flames gradually dissipated. The book from earlier seemed to have entered my mind. Then Glenn interrupted me. "What did you just do? Why was there such a commotion?" I also said I didn't know. I only remember the cultivation method on that book. Glenn nervously asked what the technique was called. Looking at the remaining warmth of flames on my hand, its name is 10,000 Flames Cultivation. But the family head didn't probe deeper, just simply asked if I had memorized the cultivation content. I gave an affirmative reply. Then he let me leave, and just after Raon left, the butler asked solemnly, "Could it be that technique?" "Yes, it's that 10,000 Flames Cultivation. This is the first-generation family head of Zieghart's cultivation technique. No one in family history has been able to read or cultivate it. I can't believe the technique actually chose him." And the butler indicated, "If this gets out, both Raon and Sylvia will be in danger." Glenn explained not to worry because no one recognizes this technique. If it weren't for Raon, it would probably rot on the shelf without anyone knowing. And Glenn also sensed that new storms would arise in the future. When I returned home, what puzzled me was why Glenn gave me this technique. because its value far exceeded the bronze medal's worth. Even a gold medal probably couldn't exchange for it, and it already surpassed the Ring of Fire cultivation technique, qualifying as a top-tier cultivation method. Then I entered meditation. A ball of flame appeared before my eyes. Could this be the technique's origin? When I reached out trying to control it, I couldn't touch the flame. It seems it's not as simple as I thought. After several simple attempts all ended in failure, I still couldn't gather spiritual energy together. I don't expect to master such advanced cultivation technique in one try, but I still need to find a way to overcome the spiritual energy problem. Just then, the demon interrupted me. It looks like your cultivation is quite difficult. Let me give you a small suggestion. You should be careful, because if someone disturbs you while you're cultivating, this could become a big problem. Even if you master the technique, you might become a cripple because of it. Although it sounds like it's planning something, what it said isn't wrong. 10,000 Flames cultivation works by absorbing natural mana, condensing it into spiritual energy at the Dantian. If someone disturbs me at a crucial moment, my mana circuits or Dantian would be damaged, thus becoming disabled. And this is even more dangerous for me, because my mana circuits are filled with cold energy. Then why are you reminding me, looking at its expression? I vaguely guessed what it wanted to do. The demon's mouth slightly curved upward. I only need to interrupt once, and your body will belong to me. What you'll get then will be a crippled body. The demon expressed indifference to this because this king will repair it. When you become disabled and give up everything, that will be the demon king's best opportunity. Then go ahead and try. This guy is truly an enemy. It's a demon from hell. As long as there's an opportunity it wants to devour my body, I thought it had finally given up. It seems I must be even more cautious. And now what's more important is dealing with her. I slowly walked toward the window. The demon indicated you finally noticed her. That's right, this definitely isn't a coincidence. Because she comes here every night, she must have been observing for some time. And I should return to my old profession. On the other side, the maid was secretly hiding something. This person is the maid from the annex building, Judiel. She was ordered to monitor Raon's every move daily, and today she also sensed there was something wrong with my cultivation technique. Because the aura she felt far exceeded the bronze medal's value, this was definitely important information. After she wrote down the content, in less than a moment, the writing disappeared. Although she did this because of orders, Raon was still just a child. She didn't know how much longer she had to hide behind Raon. Then she placed the paper into the river, watching it slowly drift away. Then sighed softly. Today's mission was finished. Little did she know a short blade was already at her throat. If you move again, you'll die. And the maid could only hold her breath. Now you can look at the lake surface. When she saw clearly, she was shocked. It was actually Raon Zieghart. Then what was with the killing intent on him? I then told her, from the first day you entered the annex building, I could feel your peeping gaze, so did you get some useful information? Hearing this, her heart was greatly shaken. How could he know this? Because she left no suspicious traces herself. Was everything just his act? Now do as I say, open your mouth. Then I quickly put a pill into her mouth, and the pill instantly dissolved in her mouth. Then I picked up the paper from the water. There was no information on it at all, so this is an encoded document that requires a specific reaction to read, right? Let me guess. Water, fire, earth, wind, or moonlight. As a top assassin, this can't stump me. The maid looked tense. So the answer is moonlight. Hearing this, she was startled. How do you know? Then it's Karun who sent you, right? This made her even more confused, because her expression absolutely showed nothing. It's impossible to know these things just by looking at expressions. And she vaguely guessed it was the pill from earlier. She now felt her body burning. Plus, could Raon effortlessly read her thoughts? The only explanation would be the rage worm. She nervously asked, what I just swallowed, was it the rage worm? Hearing this, I acted very surprised. You actually recognize this thing? She looked at me with despair at this moment. The next second, she fell into fear. Once infected with the worm, the caster can not only know the target's location, but also their thoughts. It's considered one of the world's most terrifying curses, and the caster can kill the target at any time. At this moment, the maid felt severe pain in her heart area. This reaction was undoubtedly a symptom of being infected. Since you sent this letter to Karun, then you must be a spy from the Central Military Palace. I didn't expect you investigated so thoroughly, even investigating Mother and Helen and the other maids. Judiel felt incredulous. She originally thought this was a simple mission, because she knew Sylvia had also lost her spiritual energy, and Raon was just a child. But she didn't expect Raon to be more terrifying than a monster. To save her life, the maid indicated she could modify the important content, but I said it wasn't necessary. That would only make Karun realize your incompetence. Because I already have a perfect plan. From now on, you'll become a double agent, reporting the easiest things to discover to him, while concealing important information. The maid could only nod in agreement. Good. Your performance is not bad. Then I should go back too next time you come. I expect you to bring some useful information. The demon couldn't help but curiously ask, "When did you get the worm?" I gave a negative response. How would I use such a disgusting thing? I just gave her an ordinary poison that causes severe pain. This made the demon even more confused. If you don't use the worm, how did you read her thoughts? Very simple, obtaining from certain known factors others might not be able to detect. But I can, after all I used to be a top shadow assassin. So this guy is definitely a devil. A few days later, the day to return to the training ground finally arrived. After saying goodbye to Mother, I headed there alone. In the previous period, even though I kept trying to cultivate the technique, I still hadn't successfully condensed spiritual energy by today. The scene changed, and I appeared at the training ground. From my observation, there were about 40 people here, which was 1/4 of the last training session. You could tell that Rimmer was very strict in this regard. Just then, a voice interrupted me. When I turned around, it was Runan. Then she walked directly in front of me, staring at me the whole time, and she had a reason for doing this. A few days ago, Runan told her family about Raon helping her train. Then did you thank him properly? And Runan dumbly said she gave him cookies, but didn't thank him after training because father doesn't let me talk to boys. Hearing this, Mother smiled. Expressing gratitude has nothing to do with gender. If you received help, you must greet and thank them. This is basic human courtesy. So don't forget to thank him. Then Runan said thank you to me. But I looked at her with confusion. Even the demon looked stunned, because I didn't know what happened either. Then Dorian also greeted me. As soon as we met, he said a whole bunch to me. Just as he was praising me for getting first place, Buran appeared behind him. This gave him quite a fright, but Buran paid no attention. Instead, he walked toward me, staring straight at me. He's not trying to cause trouble again, is he? But the next second, he actually apologized to me, because in the previous competition, I was too arrogant. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up. No matter how much effort it takes, I will definitely stand before you again. After saying this, he turned and left. I didn't expect a child would actually admit his mistakes. The demon said I should have beaten him up. You calm down a bit. Then Rimmer slowly walked over. Really sorry to keep everyone waiting, so are you all ready? Then he congratulated us, because we became real trainees. And next we'll proceed to the next stage of training. Now more training subjects have been added. Just then, a voice interrupted Rimmer's explanation. When everyone looked over, a girl appeared before everyone. She was very dissatisfied, shouting loudly, "Who closed the gate so tightly?" Dorian was very shocked seeing this. Then Rimmer introduced us. She's a repeat student from the previous class, Raon Zieghart. She'll be training with you from now on. Then she interrupted Rimmer, and she asked everyone who is the best trainee, because she can't tolerate anyone worse than her being first. So let's have a fight first. Then I stepped forward. I'm the trainee who got first place. She scoffed at this. You don't look like it at all. But it doesn't matter. We'll know after one fight. Saying this, she wanted to make a move. Just then, Buran stepped forward to stop her. Don't you think this is very undignified? Hearing this, Martha was very angry. You little brat dare talk to your senior like this. Then turned toward Buran, but Buran didn't fear her either. I suggest you think carefully before saying the next sentence, Buran said seriously. Raon is the best student recognized by the instructor and family head. Are you questioning them? Martha just laughed mockingly. I heard you made quite a scene back then, didn't you? That's exactly why I'm reminding you. Don't lose face like I did before. It seems Buran's mindset has changed greatly. At the same time, Runan also stepped forward, blocking in front of me, then indicated for Martha to leave here. Seeing this, Martha found it interesting. So this is friendship between friends. Is this how you weaklings take care of each other? Then she slowly left, saying, I think if I continue talking, I'll be the one making mistakes. She muttered quietly. Compared to arrogant guys, I hate cowards who hide behind others even more. The next instant, she bypassed the two and appeared in front of me. Her speed had exceeded their reaction time. Then her fist struck toward me, but I just sidestepped and dodged her attack while neutralizing her move. This greatly surprised her. Just then, my fist also swung heavily toward her. The explosive force instantly sent us both flying. Others found this incredible. Martha didn't expect she would actually be repelled. This made her very unwilling, feeling insulted. Then she activated her aura. In an instant, the ground also caved in, just as she clenched her fist, wanting to attack again. Rimmer stopped her, and Rimmer appeared behind her, while she was completely unaware. Are you looking down on me too much? Being treated like I'm invisible feels very bad. Even if you defeat him using your aura, it would be an unfair victory. But once he has an aura, you can fight as long as you want. Martha could only leave very unwillingly. But the demon was very angry. You should cut it into pieces and throw it in ice to freeze her for 10,000 years and still not be satisfied. At least you should teach her a lesson. But I said it's not time yet. Since she wants to fight me, she'll definitely come find me again, and this first place position is the best bait to lure her. For now, I can only wait patiently. Next time, I'll show you something more interesting. The scene changed. A month passed. After fist technique practice ended, a brief rest period arrived. After starting fist technique practice, Buran felt the difficulty increased a lot. because advancing the 2-star Tiger Fist to 3-star requires more than just simple practice. But one person was an exception. Although Raon had only practiced fist techniques for a month, he learned 7 types of fist techniques, and his swordsmanship progress also caught up with Burin. However, it seems Burin wasn't the only one feeling pressure from his growth. You were caught up too, Martha Zieghart. Martha was also very puzzled about this. She also knew this was Raon's first time learning fist techniques, but his growth speed was suffocating. Runan and Burin were different because they had been exposed to fist technique practice early, and with Raon's mana meridians blocked by cold energy, how could he persist in training all day? At this pace, Martha felt she would eventually be surpassed. Martha possessed terrifying talent. Since being adopted into Zieghart, she had always been outstanding among her peers, surpassing many direct and branch family members. She had always been called a genius by others. But Raon's appearance made her feel extremely anxious. When the butler came to take her home, the butler clearly noticed Martha's abnormal behavior. The butler then indicated she didn't need to worry too much. Everyone was very surprised by Raon's performance, but you can't possibly be defeated by him. This made Martha very confused. Why would you say that? Because he has a fatal weakness he can never overcome. Seemingly simple swordsmanship actually requires attention to many details. Just then, 2 people asked me about correct sword posture. But I directly refuse. If you want to learn, you can ask Burin. Then Martha praised me extensively. Didn't expect you could catch up in such a short time. You can be called a genius. Then her words suddenly changed. But your mana veins have problems. Your talent will be useless. This is truly regrettable. Maybe you can choose to become a sword instructor. This made the nearby students very angry. As she guessed, no one would blame her for anything. A guy who hasn't even awakened spiritual energy poses no threat to her. Because this is what the butler told her. Raon has no talent in spiritual energy. The reason you don't know is because it happened before you were adopted. At the judgment meeting, his spiritual energy talent was the lowest. And he's the only one in the 5th training ground who hasn't awakened spiritual energy. Furthermore, the bronze medal can only get him intermediate or slightly above intermediate training techniques. Judging from all signs, the judgment ceremony's results were probably correct. He can be the most talented person in swordsmanship and combat. But if he can't awaken, then he can't become a true martial artist. Martha felt very pleased inside. So now I need to focus on other opponents. Just then, she noticed Runan in the distance staring at her. Runan told her to leave here quickly. Martha wasn't angry about this. Yes, I'm leaving. Because I'm going to participate in higher-level training courses. The scene changed to evening. Today's training ends here. I didn't expect sword training to be so interesting. In my previous life on the battlefield, what I learned wasn't martial arts, but survival tactics. The only thing that improved was my assassination skills. I couldn't even try learning other things then. Now I found things more interesting than those. At the same time, the demon looked very angry because Martha insulted me behind my back. But because I was too focused on sword training, I didn't pay attention to what she said. I told you, there's no benefit to conflict with her now, and even without using techniques, I can easily defeat her. When I opened the door, Runan was standing at the door holding a box. This made me very confused. How did she get here? Then she opened the box, taking out a snack from inside. When I held it in my hand, it felt cool. Runan then indicated for me to eat it. As an assassin, I learned never to eat anything given by others. But I trust Runan wouldn't harm me. The moment I ate it, a cool feeling surged to my heart. Even the demon who lived for tens of thousands of years savored it. This was a ball ice cream. Then she turned and left, and I hadn't had time to thank her yet. Could she be concerned about me? Runan loves sweets like a child. I guess she saved the last one for me. She must have struggled with this decision for a long time. I must thank her next time. The scene changed. I returned home. At this moment, I was reading the letter Judiel reported. So did they say anything? Judiel indicated no. They did order me to investigate more things before, because you master swordsmanship and combat so fast. But they seem to have lost interest, because you still haven't awakened spiritual energy. What about my mother? They're not as interested in Miss Sylvia either. At this rate, they might send me back. This isn't good. I still need Judiel to help me. Then Judiel nervously asked, am I deliberately not awakening spiritual energy? And I confidently asked what her opinion was. Hearing this, she quickly apologized and said she shouldn't ask such rude questions. Then I indicated for her to leave. I didn't expect someone would think you're doing it on purpose. This made the demon curious why I found it so hard to activate spiritual energy. If I knew, cultivation wouldn't be so difficult. Just as I pushed open the door, I suddenly froze. It was actually Rimmer. How could he be here? When I asked him, he said he came to tutor me. And next, he would tell me knowledge about my attributes. Then he led me deep into the forest. Seeing my wariness, Rimmer said not to worry. Although I'm a bit lazy, I'm definitely an excellent teacher. Why would he come to such a place to teach me about attributes? And Rimmer looked expectant, because he couldn't forget the scene from my first training. The fire element emanating from my body was as hot as lava. This was a dimension different from what ordinary training techniques could achieve. And also utilizing the cold energy in the body, making the coldness merge with flames. If I could really master this technique, then Raon's future would definitely be limitless. Just then, Rimmer stopped. Arriving here is enough, so I looked around. This was the deepest part of the forest. Why come here? Rimmer summoned wind elements. In an instant, a powerful aura erupted from his body. I want to use wind to make a sword to protect my master, and what you're feeling now is wind's choice. To show you, I weakened its power, but you're different from other children. You're not afraid at all. Rimmer could feel this wind power from birth because he was an elf. But Raon as a human was different. Moreover, Raon's magic circuits were filled with coldness, so awakening spiritual energy would be even more difficult for him. In nature, wind takes many forms. It can be warm, cold, or sharp. What Rimmer wanted was wind that could penetrate anything. Through his efforts, he achieved it. You need to find what belongs to you. You can try imagining blazing flames. But this is the cold north. How could there be such intense flames? Unless burning down a forest, if we really did that, we'd probably spend our lives in prison. Rimmer indicated I didn't need to worry, because he had already found a suitable place. The scene changed. We appeared in a room. Rimmer greeted the old man inside. Looks like you failed again today, and I was very curious about this place. Rimmer explained, here you can feel the most intense flames in the entire north. The craftsman's kiln. Then the old man asked what he brought this time. Rimmer said, he's the clan leader's grandson. Just then, I felt a special elemental fluctuation. Could this be real flames? In my previous life, I saw countless flames. Ordinary campfires or high-level mages' flames. But none of those flames could compare to the ones here. The flames here felt very harmonious to me. The flame image I wanted to possess, just as I tried to imagine this flame. The old man extinguished it, then said his name was Valken. If you want flames, you can look elsewhere. Hearing this name, I was immediately shocked. That craftsman famous worldwide for his exquisite skills. They say he created Glenn's heaven sword, but he disappeared 30 years ago. I didn't expect he'd been here all along. Then I greeted him. I'm called Raon Zieghart. Did you tell him about me? Rimmer shook his head, indicating no. Then he explained, this old man is Zieghart's craftsman. He retired long ago, and the flames here have been burning for decades. So there's no other place that can let children feel real flames. Can't you help with this favor? Valken indicated we could go to the blacksmith shop. There are too many spies there. I don't think letting others see this training technique is a good thing. Hearing this, Valken became interested, and he's Sylvia's son. Then he turned to look at me. I solemnly said, I won't disturb you. Please let me feel these flames. Then he explained the flames here were produced by golden charcoal. It can produce stronger flames than white or black charcoal. He stayed here for decades just for this. I don't care what you do, just don't disturb me. I promised I definitely wouldn't, and Rimmer didn't expect he would agree so quickly. I'll bring you some good wine next time. But Valken said it's not because of you. Hearing this, Rimmer was very confused. It turned out that the moment Raon stepped into the room's flames rose considerably, so intense that the charcoal was suddenly destroyed by the rising heat. His breathing had the ability to manipulate flames. I think if it's him, maybe he can fulfill my wish. After I contemplated for some time, I had a completely new understanding of fire elements. People say fire is the most terrifying and powerful element, but if controlled properly, the situation is different. Trained fire is more stable than any other element. At the same time, the origin of 10,000 flames cultivation within me was also awakened. Rimmer said I needed to imagine the flame image I most wanted. Then what kind of flame would it be? Strong enough to cut off Dreas's neck and help Mother return to her position. However, the path to my goal, in the darkness, I couldn't even see my feet in front of me. Just then, a flame illuminated the path. Flames that wind and snow couldn't extinguish. Unwavering flames, this is the flame I want. Then a flame energy stronger than usual was seeping into my body along with the furnace's energy. And what I need to do now is concentrate and feel it. Is this the mental state of no self? I can see the memories in my mind before my eyes. Just then, I felt a coldness spreading toward me. It was the demon. At this moment, it was constantly mocking. Didn't I tell you, I'm waiting for when you're most vulnerable? Damn it, just at this moment. I forgot, because it hadn't done anything recently. But it's not on my side. A demon that wants to take my life. Now it feels like my body is shattered into pieces. Breathing is also becoming more difficult. Now I'm in a dilemma. Give up resistance, and I'll be devoured by the demon. Stop 10,000 flames cultivation, and my meridians will be burned. I need to concentrate my mana and come up with a perfect solution. But my consciousness is fading. At the same time, the demon was also tempting me to give up resistance. Your body and soul are mine now. Your life and efforts are meaningless, no different from that person working at the furnace. And it was the demon's mockery that reminded me, I can use the furnace. Although this is dangerous, it's currently the only option. The furnace heats natural magic power, and the furnace itself has the power to burn everything. I must accept it now. The demon was also stunned. Are you crazy? Along with my energy conversion, Valken sensed something was wrong. The next second, the furnace flames became agitated. The furnace that burned for decades had never seen such intense flames. What on earth happened? Just then, he noticed Raon. The furnace is burning like this. Why is he trembling all over? So Valken called my name, but got no response. Just as he was about to approach, Rimmer stopped him. We can't disturb him now, because he's already entered the state of no self. If we touch him, he'll definitely vomit blood and die immediately. So this is the coldness you mentioned in his body. Rimmer looked tense, looking at Raon. You must persevere, Raon. And the furnace's violent energy poured into my body. The demon was also shocked by my operation. Don't you know this is hopeless? I know, but so what? I once died helplessly in my meaningless previous life. Until the very last moment, I never closed my eyes. I won't let such an outcome repeat itself. At the same time, the furnace became extremely unstable due to the rising temperature. It couldn't withstand the sudden high heat. Rimmer also noticed that magical power was gathering in one place within the furnace. Raon was absorbing the furnace's mana. Along with my struggle against the demon, I successfully grasped the essence of flame in my hands. The furnace also reached its critical point at this moment. Unable to bear it any longer, the furnace exploded instantly. A mushroom cloud suddenly appeared outside the house. Seeing everything before them, both were extremely tense. Just then, Rimmer sensed a different aura. I slowly stood up, my body shimmering with dazzling light. It was actually golden flames. The bitter cold curse was also lifted, and I successfully learned the 10,000 flames cultivation technique. The spiritual energy converted from the bitter cold curse upgraded to 2-star level. The outcome was much better than Raon had expected. Just then, a window appeared again. Due to enduring the suffering brought by anger, all attributes will increase by 3 points as a reward. Raon was stunned seeing this. Was he dreaming? In just an instant, I had accomplished what took me years to achieve. This left the demon completely speechless. How could you endure that situation? So I told you, trying is meaningless. Although Raon said this, he had indeed nearly died this time. Even though we were close, demons were still enemies. So I couldn't let my guard down anymore. Couldn't let him discover my weaknesses and secrets. Meanwhile, Valken asked about Raon's physical condition. Raon gave a positive response. I'm much better now. Thank you for your help, but I'm sorry for breaking the furnace. Valken indicated not to worry about it, as long as no one was hurt. Then Valken noticed something wrong with the flames nearby. He immediately took out the charcoal from inside. It had turned golden. Legend says golden charcoal only exists in myths. It seems I was quite fortunate. This is the charcoal I mentioned to you before. It's more durable than white charcoal and longer lasting than black charcoal. Valken was very grateful to Raon for this, but Raon didn't know what help he had provided. Valken then explained, it was your breathing. While you were training here, the flames in the furnace became more intense. Your breathing made the flames more active, causing heat to spread throughout the entire fire. Although I'm just someone who works with hammers, I can still see what you did. So what's your goal? What kind of swordsman do you want to become? Having experienced the helplessness of his previous life, this time he had his own path. I want to become a fearless, resilient swordsman. This greatly surprised Valken. He hadn't expected such words to come from a child, so Valken also wanted to help Raon. He would personally forge a weapon for Raon. Raon asked in surprise, really? But I heard you had retired. Valken indicated he would keep his word, then bid him farewell. Rimmer stood on the mountaintop watching Raon slowly leave. Finally, he breathed a sigh of relief. He's really good at making people worry about him. Am I right, our family head? It turned out that during Raon's seclusion, Glenn came to check on him every day. Although he said otherwise, his expression had already betrayed him. From Raon's successful absorption of the furnace's violent energy, it could be seen that he was a very talented person. But the family head denied Rimmer's view. To be precise, he successfully transformed suffering into advantage. The scene shifted to the 5th training ground. Renan waited every day with her favorite snacks for Raon's return, as he had been in seclusion for some time. Because of this, many rumors appeared at the training ground about his failure to awaken spiritual energy. But Renan firmly believed those were all false, because she knew Raon wasn't as simple as he appeared on the surface. Just then, the gate caught her attention. When the gate slowly opened, it was Raon. So Renan quickly ran over. The demon was frustrated about this excellent opportunity's failure. Then Renan interrupted him. Renan stared blankly at Raon. Then she opened the box in her hands. Try one. Raon didn't hesitate like last time and directly picked one up to try, because he already considered Renan a friend. At the same time, a refreshing fragrance filled the air, making Renan very excited, feeling her body full of strength, because this aura was more intense than before. Watching Raon eat with such relish, Renan was also drooling. The demon beside them told him to eat 2 more, but Raon didn't do so, instead leaving the snacks and expressing gratitude, because he knew Raon herself was reluctant to eat more of this thing, but was willing to share it with him. "Don't you want to eat more?" Raon asked. Raon explained, "1 is enough. I can feel your thoughtfulness." Raon then inquired about Raon's physical condition. "Are you feeling better now?" This greatly surprised Raon. He hadn't expected anyone else to care about his health. He gave a positive response, "I feel much better now." Hearing this, Raon showed a happy expression, and then left contentedly. She really is an unexpectedly wonderful girl. The scene changed. Rimmer once again announced to the trainees that training would proceed to the next phase, core training. Because for the past few months they'd been doing the most basic foundational training, and there would be a competition in a month. The competition results would directly affect individual graduation. Hearing this, Martha became excited, because her chance to shine had finally come. While Rimmer was explaining, Martha interrupted his speech and asked how those who were falling behind should be handled. Everyone's gaze focused on one person. It was obvious she was targeting Raon. Then Rimmer directly told her, "Raon has already awakened his aura." This suddenly stunned Martha. How could that be? She immediately turned to look at Raon, but the next moment she became extremely excited. "If that's true, then my opportunity has come." She immediately walked toward Raon, because the previous result had left her very unsatisfied. Now that Raon had awakened his aura, she couldn't wait to challenge him and knock him down from first place. Just then, Burin stepped in to stop her. "Raon awakened his aura less than a day ago. As a swordsman, don't you have any sense of honor?" Hearing this, Martha was very angry. She hadn't expected so many people would speak up for Raon. Then she began to mock, "I suppose honor is most important to you, since you've treasured it since childhood." But Martha believed not everyone deserved to have it. Even those fools can learn aura within a month. But our most outstanding trainee took over 6 months. That can only mean he has no talent. A swordsman who hasn't learned aura will never become famous, even if he has talent in swordsmanship. If he can't use aura, then it's meaningless. Didn't the instructor propose a duel last time just to help him grow? Rimmer indicated this wasn't the case. Then Martha called out to Raon, "I suppose you've sat in first place long enough, so it's time to come down." She then challenged Raon to a duel, but Raon directly refused her proposal. "If you want me to wager my top student position, then you need to provide something of equal value." Martha didn't agree immediately. "Don't you understand your situation?" Then Raon used a provocation tactic. "Are you afraid?" Facing Raon's mockery, someone as proud as Martha naturally couldn't tolerate it. "Are you talking to me?" This made Martha find it quite amusing. "This is really too interesting." She immediately said, "So how do you want to bet?" Then she took out a pill. "It can enhance the body and aura. Is this stake enough?" Raon then signaled to the demon, "Do you remember what I said last time? We should wait for her to propose a challenge, then gain benefits from her. This is our opportunity." The scene shifted to a month later. Looking at today's date, Martha felt extremely excited, because she had been waiting for this day for a long time. As one of the outstanding individuals among her peers, she had never been defeated before. This made her feel humiliated. She felt this was a battle she was sure to win, because Raon had only been learning aura for 1 month, while she had been practicing for 3 full years. Martha wanted to compete for first place to gain more cultivation resources, so she would have the ability to rescue her family. So it should end now, Raon Zieghart. Today finally arrived, the day when trainees would compete against each other. Rimmer told them that watching a fight was just as helpful as actually participating in one. They could carefully observe how other students fought and consider how they would react in certain situations. So give your all and have a real contest with your opponents. First up were Burin and Dorian. But just then, Dorian raised his hand to interrupt Rimmer. Before the competition even started, he had already raised his hand in surrender. This stunned everyone present. His reason was that he didn't sleep well last night, so his stomach was uncomfortable now. The demon was very angry seeing this. "If he were my subordinate, I would have cut him down right now." However, Raon had already anticipated this. But Rimmer wouldn't let him off easily. "You need to at least try. Even if you lose, I believe you'll learn something." Seeing this, Dorian could only reluctantly agree. When he appeared again, he was already lying on the ground in surrender. Rimmer then commented on their match. "Burin still can't control his emotions well. If you had done better, you could have finished him in 5 moves. Dorian has the same old problem. Why do you keep avoiding? If you fought properly, I believe you could perform better." Next were Raon and Krine. With the instructor's command, Krine took the initiative and delivered a chopping attack toward Raon. Raon remained calm, showing no sign of panic. With just an ordinary raising and blocking motion, Krine's sword was knocked flying. This left him at a complete loss. How could this happen? Rimmer then signaled that their match was over. "Krine, you were too nervous. You must learn how to relax the sword in your hand. Raon's counterattack was good, but you still need to use more aura." As time passed, the last to appear were Raon and Martha. At this moment, Martha had been waiting impatiently, constantly swinging her sword toward Raon. The other students watching were trembling with fear. Although her attacks were fierce, in Raon's eyes, these were all child's play. He easily neutralized all her techniques. With just one simple sword swing from Raon, Martha nearly couldn't hold on to her long sword. She thus exposed an opening in her attack. The next moment, Raon's sword swung directly toward her, scaring her into quickly pulling back. But Martha didn't realize her own arrogance at all. Instead, she mocked Raon. "I thought you couldn't block my sword. I must admit you do have some talent in swordsmanship, but only in swordsmanship." Then she activated her aura. In an instant, she burst forth with extremely strong momentum. What future could someone like you without powerful aura have? The next second, she appeared in front of Raon. With a loud shout, her sword chopped down fiercely toward Raon, but Raon blocked and neutralized the attack. Raon, who hadn't activated his aura, was obviously somewhat struggling. Seeing her attack blocked by Raon, Martha kept mocking, "How long can you hold out like this? Or it depends more on a person's talent than swordsmanship. Someone like you who barely activated aura is no match for me. If you don't surrender immediately, I'll break your bones." Raon didn't know where she got such confidence. "You keep talking about talent. The Zieghart people really love talent," she affirmed this. "That's why I want to show you what real talent looks like." Raon decided not to hide anymore. "Then let me show you something too. I'll tell you there are things more important than talent." Seeing this, Martha's heart suddenly shook, because the golden spiritual energy emanating from Raon was as dazzling as the sun and carried some faint flames. Martha could see this was definitely not ordinary flame. There's something lingering behind the flames. What are those beautiful yet terrifying flames? This forced her to take it seriously. Then Martha brought out her hidden killing move, Meteor Sword Technique. Raon could see this was a technique that gathered all spiritual energy at one point. It seemed she wanted to decide victory with one move. "I admit you're strong, but you can't stop me from becoming first." After speaking, Martha suddenly exerted force and attacked Raon. The next moment, two sword energies crossed together. The auras of both created rolling air currents. The trainees outside found it incredible. How could Raon be so powerful? As the smoke gradually dissipated, a broken sword could be seen stuck in the ground. Martha had also lost consciousness due to the excessive rebound force. Raon looked at all this calmly. "Although you have good talent, you ignored a person's willpower." The scene shifted to the next day. I had just planted a few pots of flowers, and was criticized by the murderous Demon King, just because he saw my operation method was wrong. Not only would it hurt the plant's roots, it would also lower the plant's survival rate. It turned out the incredibly powerful demon was once also a flower-growing expert. After defeating Martha, she delivered the wagered pill that very night. It was precisely this pill that allowed Raon's fire ring to break through to level 4. More precisely, the previous efforts were activated by this pill. Many things were enhanced, but the greatest improvement was in defense. Because of this, the demon's anger could no longer affect me much. On the other side, the family had also learned about Raon defeating Martha. This matter sounded unbelievable, because Martha had been cultivating aura for 4 years. This must be related to the special spiritual energy Raon awakened. Ordinary aura simply couldn't compete with it, even though he had only been cultivating for 1 month. Rimmer also agreed with the family head's view. "How is Martha's condition?" Rimmer indicated the family head needn't worry. She wasn't hurt, but the failure hit her hard. "I believe she can overcome it." The scene changed. When Raon looked back, he found Martha watching him from a distance. "What are you doing here? I don't think you're here to cause trouble." Raon thought she wouldn't act like a child, but she was behaving like one now. Sure enough, she came to find Raon wanting to compete with him again. But Raon refused. "If you haven't accepted failure yet, that's rather pathetic." Martha admitted her loss, so she wanted to see how she had lost. "What compensation would I get for competing with you again?" Raon asked. This immediately stunned Martha. When challenging the victor, the loser should at least bring a gift. Martha could see Raon had no intention of competing with her. Just then, she noticed the flowers Raon had planted. "It seems I can only use this method. I suppose you love flowers very much." But Raon denied her view. "I don't like flowers, and I don't understand why people like them. I'm only doing this for my mother." Hearing this, Martha gently moved her foot away from the flowers, afraid of stepping on them, and then found an excuse to leave. But just then, Raon's mother suddenly appeared, and mistook Martha for his good friend. No matter how Raon explained, Mother still asked her to stay, because she had heard about Martha and Raon's competition. Faced with Raon's mother's care, Martha didn't know what to do. Just as she wanted to leave, Mother took her into the house. "Since you're already here, you can't go back on an empty stomach." Thus, Martha was invited by Mother to be a guest at home. What made Raon curious was why she behaved so politely. This wasn't like the previous Martha. Sylvia also enthusiastically asked if she had encountered any difficulties in cultivation. Watching her wolf down the food, Mother told her to slow down. because the food here was somewhat inferior to that of the Duke's mansion, so she should chew slowly and savor it. These very words reminded Martha of her mother, who had once said the same things. After finishing dinner, Mother bid her farewell. Did she take the wrong medicine? Wasn't she here to fight me? The reason Martha didn't refuse was because Sylvia's eyes were very similar to her mother's, although their hair colors were different. She had just felt like her mother was beside her, so she treasured that time greatly. After Martha's mother was kidnapped by the white blood cult, she was adopted by Daniel into Zieghart, so she longed to become stronger and gain the family's attention. But that day she lost to Raon. Zieghart had taken her in because of her talent. She didn't know if she would be abandoned by the family because of this. Although Daniel was good to her, if that was just superficial, then she would lose her only hope. When she returned home, the butler had been waiting for a long time, because Daniel had written her a letter, which made her nervous. But when she saw the contents, she couldn't believe it. It turned out Daniel had always been helping her search for news of her mother, and hadn't blamed her for losing the competition. Martha also realized she cared too much about so-called winning and losing, so what she needed to do now was acknowledge her shortcomings, and continue moving forward. If I remained like before, I would only bring shame to Father. I will let go of my foolish, pathetic past. I will become stronger. Martha actually took the initiative to find Raon, because her attitude toward Raon had undergone a huge change. I won't make any half-hearted apologies to make up for everything I've done so far, but I will keep my promise. Raon was very puzzled by this. It turned out she had said before the competition that the loser must obey the winner. Her attitude was also beyond Raon's expectations, although they had made promises. He hadn't expected Martha to undergo such huge changes in such a short time. This was a very remarkable quality. The scene shifted to the new year. Everyone had undergone great changes. Martha had also been following Raon's commands. Compared to before, Burin's leadership abilities were getting stronger and stronger. Runan's sword had become sharper than before, although her expression remained as bewildered as usual. As for Raon, he had gotten used to practicing while risking his life every day. Just then, everyone was marveling at Raon's learning talent. Even if he had learned before, mastering things so quickly was impossible. After just meditating for a while, he learned the footwork the instructor taught, and even did it better than the instructor. The scene changed. Rimmer was praising Raon's talent to the family head. He really is a monster-like existence. But the family head seemed unwilling to discuss this matter. Just then, Rimmer noticed the family members starting to get busy. Are you preparing for something? The family head confirmed, we'll have guests soon. Representatives from the Owen Kingdom will arrive in a few days. The Owen Kingdom was one of the 6 kingdoms located at the center of the continent. They were among the few factions that maintained friendly relations with Zieghart, because Zieghart rarely associated with others. Rimmer was also curious, so who is their representative? It should be the Owen Kingdom's 3rd prince. But Rimmer remembered their 3rd prince was born around the same time as Raon. The family head then told Rimmer to prepare, because they wanted to observe how swordsmen and trainees practiced. We shouldn't let them see anything unseemly. Hearing this, Rimmer fell into thought. Their 3rd prince was about the same age as Raon. Thinking about it now, it seemed very interesting. So what are you scheming again, you old fox? The scene changed. Rimmer immediately gathered everyone to announce his idea, which was for the 5th training ground students to have an exchange with the Owen Kingdom's 3rd prince delegation. This puzzled the students below, because they had heard this was a 6th training ground matter. Why did it come to our 5th training ground? It turned out that earlier, Rimmer had found the 3rd prince, and could see he wasn't very satisfied with the 6th training grounds competition. So he extended a special invitation. If you have time, come to the 5th training ground tomorrow. I'll show you the real thing. Although this is somewhat sudden, as swordsmen, you must always be prepared. Rimmer then signaled for them to enter. A young man leading a knight order appeared before everyone. I'm Greer Owen. Nice to meet you all. Raon could see he was different from the others, because the aura he displayed was the strongest. Rimmer then asked Raon, would you like to have a match with them? Seeing such a strong opponent, it would be perfect for testing the results of my previous training. Raon confirmed, I'd like to compete with him. Rimmer then selected 20 trainees to follow Raon's arrangements. Before the competition, the most important thing was to boost morale. Raon immediately told them not to be nervous. Before we start, you should look at the knights you'll be facing. Carefully observe their hands and you'll see. They wear shining armor and look confident. But they're trainees just like us. In terms of our 5th training grounds training level, we absolutely won't lose to the other 6 kingdoms. Your sweat and blood will surely yield good results, so show yourselves to the fullest. Hearing this, the trainees' morale was greatly boosted. Next, Raon would select the first contestant. Considering the importance of the first match, he needed to send someone with strong abilities. Martha should be the best choice. Can you do it? Martha gave a positive response. After seeing the opposing contestant, everyone showed shocked expressions. Is he really about the same age as us? I'm Tars, Vanguard of the Owen Kingdom. I look forward to an exciting match." Seeing the disparity in height, the trainees also became worried. But Martha didn't think so. "Enough talk, let's start quickly." Facing the height difference, Martha jumped up and launched a crazy assault. This directly shocked the Empire's third prince. Tars was a capable warrior from their second training ground, with certain strength and power in dueling. It seems they haven't disgraced the Zieghart name, and their abilities can definitely compete with the kingdom's knights. Compared to the previous sixth training ground, although they were also well-trained, they were far inferior to the Robert family. The fifth training ground must be where the truly talented students are. "So this is why you invited us to visit the fifth training ground?" the Owen Kingdom's instructor said. Rimmer confirmed, "This is a rare opportunity to duel and train with one of the Empire's knights. I think this will teach them a lesson." At the same time, Rimmer proposed a wager with them. The Owen Kingdom's instructor became interested. "We'll have 20 duels and reward the victors." But their instructor was very confident, because the Owen Kingdom's knights received elite training. "Do you think your students can defeat them?" Rimmer also had confidence in his students. Under Martha's fierce attacks, Tars quickly couldn't keep up. Seizing the moment of his mistake, Martha delivered a heavy blow. The first match ended with Martha's victory. Seeing Martha's competition, Raon was also very surprised. He thought after Martha competed with him, her swordsmanship would become gentler, but unexpectedly she had improved her speed and strength. But the demon felt very bored. What's interesting about ants fighting? Then it started talking about its heroic achievements from years past. Looking at the chattering demon, Raon immediately told it to go back and rest. Time quickly came to the 18th match, and now it was Runan's turn. The other side also sent out a red-haired girl. Looking at the expressionless Runan, cold as ice, the red-haired girl directly said, "This isn't the personality I like." Then both activated their auras. The next moment, their weapons clashed violently. The airflow generated by their auras made it impossible for everyone to see the battlefield situation clearly. But this also gave Runan a chance to strike. When the red-haired girl noticed, Runan had already appeared behind her. But the red-haired girl reacted quickly and immediately swung a sweeping strike, only to find it was just an afterimage. However, Runan's sword was already at her throat. Runan won the 18th match. The red-haired girl also acknowledged Runan's strength. Then Runan found Raon and asked if he had watched her match. Raon confirmed, "Your footwork has improved greatly." The competition had reached a heated stage, with both sides winning 9 matches each. The 19th match was between Burin and Sirun. Both politely introduced their names. Raon could see at a glance that he was the strongest besides the third prince. With the referee's command, both swung their swords with full force. After several rounds of probing, Burin also learned their abilities were evenly matched. As long as one person made a mistake, the match would end. After numerous exchanges, both decided to use their full strength for one decisive blow. The match ultimately ended with both their swords breaking. Rimmer immediately announced the result. The 19th match is a draw. Raon praised Burin's performance that trainee knight was the strongest among them. But Burin felt very guilty. "With Zieghart's honor at stake, I should have won the match no matter what." Seeing this, Raon patted his shoulder. "Leave the rest to me. I'll bring honor to the Zieghart name." Just as Raon and the prince were about to begin their duel, he looked puzzled, because he intuitively felt Raon's abilities were too mediocre. "Are you not of direct bloodline?" Raon confirmed this. Greer then expressed, "Rather than dueling with him, I'd prefer to spar with those 3, so he proposed to Rimmer, 'If I win this duel, please allow those 2 to practice with me.' Rimmer could only smile awkwardly, of course. 'If you can win, then I have no objections.' The next second, both immediately entered combat readiness. At this moment, the prince was still thinking of conserving strength for the next duel. But the Owen Kingdom's instructor soon noticed something was wrong. That guy is simply like a monster. Due to his weak presence, the Owen Kingdom's instructor almost didn't notice Raon's true strength. But Rimmer was very curious. Since he had seen through Raon's strength, why not remind the third prince? He responded, "The third prince will be the Owen Kingdom's future, but he has been undefeated since birth. This isn't necessarily good for him. Although Raon is strong, he can't easily defeat the prince." Rimmer had a different view on this. Then Rimmer proposed to the Owen Kingdom's instructor, "How about we bet again?" He then held up 5 fingers toward the Owen Kingdom's instructor. "Raon will end this duel within 5 rounds." Just then, I suddenly launched an attack against him. The prince hadn't reacted yet, when I struck him in the abdomen with one blow, causing him to fall to the ground in pain. In an instant, I ended this duel. It seemed I didn't even need 5 rounds. Only now did the prince realize. There was a reason Raon was the last to appear, because he was the strongest. Even the Owen Kingdom's instructor found it unbelievable. That guy doesn't look like a student at all. Whether in footwork or swordsmanship, he's flawlessly skilled. At the same time, the prince immediately called out to Raon, expressing that he hadn't shown his true strength yet. "You're really disgraceful. As a prince, you don't dare admit your failure. If you still have dignity as a prince, you should admit your failure and leave." Just as both sides were about to argue, Rimmer timely stopped them and told Raon he could choose what he wanted to do. Since victory is decided, I don't think we have reason to continue fighting. But the prince immediately apologized to me. He had underestimated his opponent's strength and felt very ashamed of this behavior. He even put down his sword and begged Raon to give him another chance. Even Raon hadn't expected such an arrogant prince would actually apologize. In that case, I'll give you another chance. At the same time, the prince immediately tore off the necklace from his chest, as if making some kind of resolution. The next second, a thunderous power instantly burst from within him. Now is not the time to hide strength. Now I only want to fight Raon with everything I have. At this moment, the demon began mocking Raon. Didn't you guess that guy was hiding his strength before? Even so, I can still win this duel. But the demon obviously didn't agree with Raon's view. So Raon proposed to it. How about we make a bet? If I can defeat the prince, all my attributes will increase by 4%. Otherwise, anger value increases by 10 points. The next second, I immediately took my stance. The prince instantly appeared before me, so I chose to raise my sword to block. In an instant, two massive forces collided together. Even the prince hadn't expected Raon could take this attack. This guy is simply like a monster. It seems I can't treat him as an ordinary genius. Then Greer slowly gathered his strength. Is this the legendary Perez sword technique? From his powerful aura, he should be planning to decide victory with the next attack. In that case, I should also show my strength. This will be the final strike. Raon Zieghart, you wait for me. At the same time, golden flames burst from my sword. Even the prince felt very shocked. Are these the legendary golden flames? But he wouldn't retreat because of this, because he hadn't used his full strength yet. The next second, he swung his full strength attack toward Raon, and Raon also chose to counterattack with full force. In an instant, two powerful forces collided together. It seemed both had evenly matched abilities. As Greer quickened his offensive, Raon obviously had some difficulty handling the prince's attacks, just when he thought he had victory assured. The next second, the prince's long sword actually shattered. Raon seized the opportunity and quickly delivered a fatal strike toward the prince. As the prince knelt on the ground, this duel finally ended. Victor, Raon Zieghart. Although the prince had exceptional speed and strength, in the end he still lost. The world is truly vast and full of wonders. The prince then admitted his defeat and said he had learned much from it. Of course, so did I. Greer was very curious about Raon's age, so Raon told him. Learning he had just turned 14, Greer found it incredible that someone so young possessed such strength. Meanwhile, he immediately handed Raon a divine token. As long as he holds this item, the third prince will unconditionally grant his requests. Although he lost this match, he gained many insights, and he feels honored to have lost to Raon. He hopes that when they meet again, Raon's strength will still surpass his own. Only then can he enjoy the thrill of the chase. He then signaled to Rimmer that they had lost, and he would fulfill his earlier promise. Immediately after, he suggested to Duke Tartan that they should set sail and return at once, because he had thought of what he needed to do next. At this moment, Raon fell into deep thought, because in his previous life he had never received any rewards from missions. He never expected that receiving a reward would feel so wonderful. In this life, I will follow my heart and live as I choose. The scene shifts. At this moment, the family was quite curious. Is this the lesson you learned from the duel? That's right, because Raon's appearance made him re-examine himself. Although he had visited 3 of the 6 groups and sparred with their students, someone as talented as Raon was the first he had ever encountered. There were many things about Raon worth learning from, so he decided to return immediately after greeting the clan leader, because he wanted to master what he had comprehended. After delivering the king's letter, he left this place. The duke was puzzled. Why would the prince give the token to Raon? He then responded to this. Raon has a very unique character, always treating people politely and possessing exceptional swordsmanship. Besides, giving the token is also an investment in the future. That guy possesses such tremendous strength at such a young age. Even with collateral bloodline, he will definitely become someone who shakes the entire continent in the future. So establishing a friendship with such talent will surely help me in the future. Duke Tartan never expected he would think so far ahead. The third prince very much looked forward to seeing just how much Raon would grow by their next meeting. On the other side, the butler appeared very surprised, because a prince from another country had actually acknowledged Raon's strength. Even Glenn showed a long-lost smile. But how should they handle what Duke Tartan mentioned? Apart from the prince's letter, he reported another important matter to the clan leader. From the king of the Owen kingdom, Owen II, one of the 6 emperors, he said, the 5 demons have begun to move. Right after the third prince left the training ground, Rimmer praised everyone. Everyone did well, and he decided to conduct special training next week. That will be a real battle. This time you need to be mentally prepared for bloodshed. In the territory to the south, there's a bandit camp called Snow Tiger Claw. At first they only collected fees from passing travelers, but recently there have been many casualties. So our mission is to sweep out the bandits? A student asked. Rimmer denied this. because those bandits had ambushed a village and killed all the villagers. Upon hearing this, everyone was immediately shocked. Their mission was to eliminate all the bandits. Although they're bandits, they all know how to use aura, so everyone must not be careless. The departure time is tomorrow night, please prepare yourselves. The scene shifts. At this moment, Raon was conducting sword training, because she wanted to adjust her stance before departure. But it seemed things weren't going so smoothly. After all, Raon's swordsmanship was both flexible and fluid, and she didn't know where her problem lay. Originally, she had thought about asking Raon for guidance. But after some consideration, in the end, Raon didn't want to interfere with his training, so she buried herself in solo practice. After a while, although her swordsmanship's power decreased considerably, her movements became much more fluid. So she bid farewell to the training hall and headed home, because her mother had already prepared ice cream for her. She decided to bring the ice cream tomorrow to ask Raon for guidance. Just as she was walking home, a voice called out to her. The next second, Raon immediately froze in place, because the one who called her was her brother Syria. Although he was pleased that Raon had become stronger through training, he had clearly told Raon not to attempt any dangerous actions. Then Raon immediately stepped back several paces in fright. It seems you've forgotten most of what I taught you, so it's time for a reminder. Do you remember that squirrel named Ruby? He then took out a squirrel. You seem to have forgotten how it died. The next second, he immediately crushed the squirrel to death in his hand. In an instant, painful memories from the past surfaced before Raon's eyes. She immediately burst into tears, while Syria whispered softly in her ear, "Don't think of escaping from my grasp. Until that day comes, don't do anything dangerous. You just need to stay put obediently." Just then, a sword came flying straight at him. Syria could only hastily dodge the attack. Then Raon appeared, pulling Raon behind him for protection. "You damned bastard, who are you?" Syria smiled. "Shouldn't you introduce yourself before asking someone's name? You suddenly appearing like this puts me in a difficult position. Cornering someone in an alley, you're hardly qualified to say that. Are you a thief or a robber?" Syria was startled and quickly said, "No wonder you'd misunderstand, but I'm neither a robber nor a thief. I'm her brother." At this moment, Raon was still trapped in her memories, crouched on the ground with her head in her hands, trembling. I said in a low voice, "You seem to have frightened Raon. Are you really Ronan's biological brother?" Syria quickly waved his hands, saying, "Oh my, I haven't seen her in a long time. I got excited and my joke went too far, and she ended up like this. Crushing a squirrel with your bare hands in front of her? You call that a joke?" I sternly reproached. To ease the awkwardness, Syria scratched his head and said, "Ah ha ha, you saw that, but it wasn't a real squirrel, it was a toy." Syria quickly extended his hand. "Look, there's nothing on my hand, right? How could I actually kill a squirrel?" I took a look. It seemed he had used aura to completely eliminate the blood and remains. Syria placed a box of pastries on the ground and said, "Anyway, I'm going on a long-term mission and won't be back for a while, so I just came to bring my sister some pastries." Then Syria glanced contemptuously. "Raon, you've made a very good friend. You two should get along well in the future. Sorry, brother's joke went too far. Take care of yourself. Goodbye." Under my gaze, Syria walked farther and farther away. I know that man. Before my rebirth, I had only heard his name but never seen him in person. So he's a madman wearing the mask of a benevolent hero. He is the genius swordsman of the Sullian family and one of the 12 monsters, expected to become the next continental star. Pale sword Syria Sullian. His aura is as revolting as Darius's. I extended my hand to Raon, who was crouched on the ground with her head in her hands. "Come on, Raon, I'll see you off." After a while, I escorted Raon to the waiting carriage. As Raon was getting in the carriage, she looked back at me and said, "Thank you for seeing me off." Then she got in the carriage and drove away. I watched as the carriage gradually disappeared into the distance. After getting in the carriage, Raon looked down at the box of pastries in her hands without saying a word. After who knows how long, Raon fell into her memories. He's back again, hasn't changed at all, still the same as before.